Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So on this video, I'm going to be talking about how I started my successful teaching tutoring business in Vietnam. So if you're new to my channel, the name of my channel is called as Tutoring Vietnam. I've been living over here for over 6 years. I was an English teacher for over 3.5 years. Then I started my successful online business and now I do full-time YouTube. So if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. So I'm just going to keep this mic a bit over here because I had a bit of hard time placing that on my t-shirt. So let me just have a bit of my morning coffee to get my thinking cap on. All right, so I'm going to be talking about how I went about starting a successful teaching tutoring business in Vietnam. So this video is going to be like part one. Um, so I'll be coming up with part two, and if part three is required, then I may come up with that video as well. But I'm going to be laying down the proper strategies, what I had implemented when I started off with my private tutoring business, which was called as Learn English Vietnam. It was pretty successful for 2 years. I had that, and then of course I had to. Sorry, yeah, I had to. I had to take a little vacation, and of course, you know, and then pandemic came. So then I decided to quit my tutoring business. So I highly recommend that you should start, having a tutoring business in Vietnam, a private tutoring business in Vietnam is a good way to supplement additional income. All right. Now, I don't recommend you start a private tutoring teaching business uh, the first year when you are out here in Vietnam. You need teaching experience. I started my private tutoring business after getting a year of teaching experience here in Vietnam. I had to understand my students. I had to understand the teaching materials. I had to understand the teaching styles. As you know, that teaching is a ongoing process. Teaching for me is an ongoing process. I always learn new strategies of teaching as a teacher from my fellow teachers. And it's just that from time to time you start understanding how to teach effectively, what are the materials you need to use, what are the activities you need to implement when you're engaging with your students, how to conduct successful group activities with your students, how to make the class more participative, and of course, classroom management and everything. So, and of course, there are a lot of expat teachers out here in Vietnam who do private tutoring as a side hustle. There's nothing wrong with that, and you can make a lot of decent money out of that. I know a few of my expat teachers whom I used to work with at the same school. They landed up opening some language centers out here in Vietnam because their tutoring business really exploded. So the potential is quite high. And if you see all these language centers, like the new ones which are popping up and everything, they could have, some of them, like the owners of those language centers, they used to do tutoring. They used to do private English tutoring for students, and these were like Vietnamese teachers who used to teach the students English. So yes, sky is the limit when it comes to tutoring out here in Vietnam. So I just want to talk about my experience of starting my tutoring business, successful tutoring business, Learn English Vietnam, how I went about that. So, like I said, the first thing which is very important would be that you need teaching experience here in Vietnam. The biggest mistake you can make is like, that you come to Vietnam, you teach for a few months, and then you say, okay, I'm going to start a tutoring business here in Vietnam, it's not going to work out. You need at least a year of experience, year of teaching experience. You need to understand, you need to research the market. So what's in demand? Okay. So like if you're proficient in teaching IELTS, that is something which is very hot. Or if you're into general communication English, or if you specialize in business communication English, these are the kind of niches where you can really scale up your tutoring business. So like I said, I had to understand, I had to do a lot of research. I had to consult with a couple of my expat teacher friends, whom I used to work with at the same school, because they also had the same direction. So I would always get the ideas. They would always share ideas. We would brainstorm ideas. Most importantly, identifying your target audience. I mean, what age level of students you want to teach. Like, do you want to teach primary level students? Like, do you want to teach like 6 years, 8-year-old students, or do you want to teach high school students, or do you want to teach adults? So, when I used to do private tutoring, I didn't have a lot of students. Like I would have, sometimes I would teach a one-to-one. I have also taught a lot of business English to a lot of employees out here in Vietnam. Substantial amount. They were working with, like, some were managers. One was a director. And the other one were, like, group of students. They were adults, teaching them business communication English. And also there were also, I even taught like family members here in Saigon, general communication English. I was like teaching them for 2 months and everything. So, and you can also teach, like, young students, so how did I go about all this, right? So like I said, I had to, like, I was teaching in public schools for a year, three different public schools to be precise. And I was living at Gobap district for 2 years here in Vietnam. Like, it's not downtown, it's not downtown Ho Chi Minh, but it is like, it's close to the airport. And of course, it's cheaper over there. And the demand for English is very high. So I mean, if you want to really scale up your tutoring business, your private tutoring English business over here in Vietnam, I don't recommend you look out for students in District 1, because District 1 here in Ho Chi Minh is like, so I'm going to be talking primarily about Ho Chi Minh City. But if you're staying in District 1, it's primarily catered for foreigners. Majority of the people over there, they do speak English because there are a lot of foreigners. So if you really want to scale up your business, you got to move outside the city. You got to be staying somewhere in locations like, Govap district. The rent is quite affordable as well. Or you can go to Tan Binh, or you can go to Bintan. So where you see a lot of universities and young students, because they're always looking out for improving their English skills, right? So my business was completely like a freelance work. I never had a physical office over here. I did a lot of marketing online. So I would say majority of the focus of my business was on social media marketing. So, I just started off with a Facebook page. And I started posting a lot of materials. I don't know if, I was very good with graphics and designs, and I would be making a lot of PowerPoint slides. I would be posting a lot of English communication materials, basic English communication materials, like, how are you today, and I'm fine, or some vocabulary words with some Vietnamese translation. So, for me to grow that Facebook page took me around, because of course I was teaching also full time with with centers that time. So it took me around 3 months to grow my Facebook page. Yes, I did also run a bit of Facebook ad to promote my Facebook page, and of course, putting a call to action. And here in Vietnam, it's very important to have a good review, okay, on your Facebook page, because if you don't have a good review on your Facebook page, that can drastically damage your business. So I started doing a lot of social media marketing, and I had like a call to action button on my Facebook page where students can contact me. So I'm going to discuss all about that on the second video, but I'm just giving you a general idea. And of course my niche was very specific. I was primarily focusing on general communication English. So I started off with general communication English, and as my private tutoring business started to grow, then I ventured into business communication English, and also then to IELTS. So I started off with general communication English. Especially target audience would be students, who want to speak English effectively, who want to communicate in English effectively. I did not focus on grammar, so primarily I was focusing on, the speaking, the listening, and doing a lot of activities with my students. So, of course, the Facebook page really helped me to start off with my private tutoring business. And as I knew that I was posting consistently every day, like I was posting like twice or thrice a day, and also I was taking out the time to create videos where I would be talking, about English communication, like things like, what do I mean by this, or I was creating these short tutorial videos. They were like a minute, or like word of the day in English, and I was posting that on my Facebook page. Um, and I started getting traction, and of course I ran a bit of Facebook ads. That also greatly helped, and it's like targeting like Vietnam, and of course in the same city, and especially in the same district, or close by districts. Um, so yeah, I did all that, and of course I also decided to go to a printing shop. And I remember I'd got my teaching salary that day, and whatever teaching salary I would be getting, I would be investing like 20% in my private tutoring business. So primarily I'm talking about the marketing materials, or maybe hiring two or three Vietnamese students, university students, because like most of the Vietnamese university students, they are looking for part-time work. They're looking for short-term gigs where they can make some money quickly. And so I'm going to come to that on the part two video. But this video is just about a general overview what exactly I did. So the Facebook page, I did collaborate. I did go to the printing shop. This was at Govap district, because in Govap, if you're staying around Quan Chung area, there are a lot of printing shops. In general, you do find a lot of printing shops over here in Saigon. So you can just go there and you can just tell them that, like I want to teach English, or if you have a design, I shared a design, a JPEG design. I did it on PowerPoint. I don't know if Canva was there that time or not, but I used to do a lot of designing on PowerPoint. So I don't think Canva was there that time. I'm talking about 2017. So I shared some design, and I consulted with the designer, and like I paid around 1.5 million Vietnam dong, I think around $50 or something, to create a lot of flyers, print out of flyers. So I believe I had got like 3 4 boxes of flyers, high resolution, and like each box had around more than 100 flyers or whatever, 200 or 300 flyers. Because that really helped, for also scaling up my private tutoring business here in Vietnam. So, of course, that I'll be discussing also on the second part of the video. How I collaborated with a few university students over here in Vietnam, and how also how testimonials were also important, from my students. Like if I finished a program, a teaching program with my students, it was very important for me to get their testimonials, like how effective I was when I was tutoring them and improving their English communication skills, the programs, the lesson plans which I had created for my students. Also, another big aspect would be, when I was teaching in public schools, I started developing good rapport, good relationship with all my students, because, like most of my students, they would enjoy my teaching. I would do a lot of activities and everything. So, they had their network of friends as well. I'm talking about because I taught high school for a year. So, they had their network, or maybe, like sometimes, a student would come up to me and say that, teacher, I have a friend, he wants to improve his communication skills. Like, can you get in touch with him? Or, some of the parents of these students, they actually want their students to do some additional English classes, like private tutoring classes. So, take advantage of the golden opportunity. Like, if you are teaching in a language center already, or if you're teaching in a public school, start having good rapport with your students. And if you have that intention of starting a private tutoring business over here in Vietnam, I'm not saying pitch it right away, but you need to get at least a year experience. And as you know your students well, then you can just float out a word of mouth thing, like, if you want to, if your friends are looking for some additional English classes, just get in touch with me. Like, you can give your Zalo number to them. Like, it's nothing it's nothing uncommon. Like, also, I know, like, most of the teachers out here, expat teachers out here, they also want to do like private tutoring, or they want to start their private tutoring business, to get some additional income, and you can make a lot of income out here with private tutoring. So, yeah, so that was also one strategy, so it was very effective. So, yes, I talked about the Facebook page, creating some brochures, rapport with the teachers. Also, a very important thing which assisted me with my private tutoring business was to join up some of these English clubs here in Saigon. Now, what I mean, English, there are a lot of English clubs over here in Saigon, especially, if you go to these coffee shops. There are some of these coffee shops over here in Saigon where, usually you have the coffee shops downstairs, or during the weekends, a lot of students come. The main intention is they buy coffee, they sit with their students, and, they start communicating in English. And if you're a foreigner, it doesn't matter if you're a native or a non-native teacher, you can come over there and start interacting with students, communicating with students in English. It's also good for the coffee shops. Students buy a lot of coffee when they come for the English club. It can last for 1 hour, 2 hours. There are also some coffee shops here in Saigon where, like, the coffee shop is on the ground floor, but the first floor, you have the English club, where also students, they sit together, they sit on the floor. There's a small table, and they start communicating in English, or they can play some English games, activities. An English club is not a place where you're going to get paid. Yes, there could be a few English clubs where they can pay the foreign teachers to go and interact with students for an hour or 2 hours. But usually English clubs are like free to join, and you're basically doing yourself an advantage of promoting your private tutoring business, because English clubs usually take a like, as you are developing a good rapport with these students, then automatically, you can tell them that, I can really I can really help you improve your English communication skills. So if you have a group of friends, I can give you this kind of discounts, and then I can teach you English at a coffee shop. I remember I used to also do private tutoring at McDonald's. And this was at McDonald's at Govap, and they had these glass cube rooms, and I would go and meet up with the students in the evening and teach them around. But yeah, I mean, I would be buying a bit of fries and cokes or whatever. But and so it was very interesting. I've done private tutoring for students at coffee shops, at office centers, at business meeting rooms. So yeah, so the English club definitely is also a very important asset if you want to scale up your private tutoring business over here in Vietnam. But like I said, I highly recommend you should look into starting a private tutoring business here in Vietnam after getting a year or more teaching experience here in Vietnam, because you need to really understand the teaching market out here. You need to understand your students. You need to understand how things work over here. What really engages your students. And as you're mastering your teaching skills over time, these are all assets which will help you to scale up your private tutoring business here in Vietnam. So I'm just going to end the video for now. I'm going to stay tuned for part two, where I will be talking a bit more in depth about like how I started getting students for my private tutoring business, and then how I started to um, you know to go into business communication English and start teaching IELTS, and also a bit additional information which would be coming handy. So if you are looking for starting a private tutoring business over here in Vietnam, then I highly recommend you watch this video, because I ran my teaching business for 2 years, Learn English Vietnam. It was a big success, and of course, like I was not a native teacher. I'm a non-native teacher. I'm a teacher coming from India, but I do have a neutral American accent, and um, it's just that the most important thing over here is the way you teach, your teaching style. It doesn't matter if you're native or non-native, and I think most schools should consider this here in Vietnam, is that how effective you are in your teaching skills. So that, I think, comes down, that is the main important point when it comes to evaluating a teacher. So it doesn't matter if you're native or non-native. I've even like seen a couple of YouTube videos of Nigerian English teachers out here in Vietnam, and they teach very well. They're very engaging with primary school students. They teach very well. They use a lot of props. And these are very good teachers. They're not native teachers, but they're very good teachers. Okay, so it all comes down to how you teach at the end of the day. So stay tuned for part two. So if you found this video to be insightful, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And additionally, you can buy me a coffee if you like this content. And if you're traveling around in Southeast Asia and you want to start a successful online business, then I highly recommend you check out the link down in the description below. So there's a very big VIP pre-launch happening, which is going to change the lives of millions by this year. So I highly recommend you join up the business. It's free to join, and you will thank me later. So with that being said, you guys have a great day. This was me, Sue Joy. Peace out.